Hey guys, it's Bobby Legs, and welcome to another Friday night live stream chat. Typically, every other week I do a collection review, but tonight is going to be more of a topic. And I was supposed to be joined by my buddy Ryan from Knife Watch YouTube channel, and so he might be experiencing some technical difficulties getting um, in the meeting here. So we'll just wing it until he's able to get on. So how you guys doing tonight? Let me know what you're wearing on wrist tonight, and what are you wearing in the pocket? You know what I mean? Knife wise, knife wise. So tonight I got on my wrist the Black Bay 58. And I think Ryan is about ready to join on. Hold on one second, guys. Hey, Ryan, what's up, man? We're live. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. How you doing today, Bobby?
Good, good. Thanks for joining us. So I was starting off the conversation with the guys on the chat, and before we get into the topic at hand, Ryan, uh, let's do the customary check of the wrist. What are you got on tonight?
Oh, snap. Okay. Today I'm wearing a Seiko Presage cocktail. I'm reviewing right now. It's my first time wearing a dress watch um, for any amount of time. So I feel very out of my element, but I'm enjoying it. It's actually making me feel like more of an adult. So
Yeah, I saw your unboxing. I think it was either yesterday or today, and it's a good looking watch, man. Pretty good, very good looking. It's nice that it came with the extra strap. Nice presentation. I'm wearing in s- in you know in celebration and solidarity of you being on the channel. We have a watch that we both have in common, and I'm
okay,
wearing the Black Bay 58,
there we
uh,
go.
the original.
That's what it's about. My BlackBerry 58 is currently being adorned by my wife.
Oh,
So
okay, all right,
yeah, so
awesome.
sometimes we got to share what we got, right? But I thank you so much for rocking that. The whole channel could be over with that one, right? It's like
Yeah, right.
just review that 50 times.
Yeah. And I also asked the guys, if they also have anything, since we're talking about watches and knives and collecting, if they're carrying any knives in the pocket. And I'll take it out. I just got it today. It was an exclusive over at DLT trading, and it was that Paramilitary 3 that they came out with this week
Nice.
with the purple G10 and
That's
the
very nice.
yeah, and the crew wear metal um, and black coating. I mean, I'm not sure what the terminology is. Feel free to correct me on that. But I figure why not my first Spyderco? Why not go balls out, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah. I wanted to say I'm very proud of you for your first venture into Spyderco is one of the sprint runs. That's hot. That's a big move.
well, got to go big or go home, right? What about you there? I see you pulled out a couple. You got a knife there.
Yeah, I have. I can't lie. I have about 50 knives next to me, so I'm likely to pull anything. And this is the Chavez. This is the Liberation 229. So this is actually a custom knife maker named Ramon Chavez, who's well renowned and respected across the industry. And then he did a collaboration where he brought his custom knives, which are very, very expensive in the multiples of thousands, in a production runs with Riyadh.
Right.
Riyadh is a OEM maker,
Yeah.
so I think they're based out of China. So
Yep.
they also this is a limited edition with this Seigaiha
Wow.
motif in here. So this is actually the same wave that you'll see on the back of Seiko divers, that or the same concept that means fortune and fortitude. So
Yeah.
I thought it's a nice knife watch reference.
Very nice. Daniel, I'm going through the chat. Daniel is rocking the Pelagos and a zero tolerance. Now, the Pelagos is titanium. Is the zero tolerance titanium there, Daniel?
Good question. Good
Um,
question. Zero
pairing up
tolerance is
the
nice.
pairing up the metals probably. Snuggle Tummy's wearing the red dial G-Shock Square. Very nice.
Yep. Gotta have
Um,
Doc.
yep. Niram is wearing the Seiko SPB 151. And there's your Seiko, yeah. And the Spyderco PM2 Tonto. Nice, very
Nice.
nice. Snuggle Tummy, he's coming in with the knife. Benchmade 51 Balisong butterfly knife.
Snuggle Tummy. Shout out to Snuggle Tummy. He's
Yeah,
helped
he's
me
the
out a lot.
best.
He's the
Yeah, me
best.
too. Me too, man. Black Woman Gamer, almost 3 months straight wearing the BLNR. Wow, 3 months, man. Wearing that, rocking that Rolex GMT, the Batgirl. I have a random multifunction knife. Okay, that's fine. Um, and let's see here. Lyndon is wearing he's got the Doxa 300T Caribbean and a custom BM Mini Crooked River. So we got some guys with some knives on the,
You see what I'm saying?
yeah.
There's something going on here, like you mentioned.
He's so Clayton, AZ Clayton is wearing the Black Bay 58 blue with the Benchmade Griptilian. All right. And there's Kevin from Wrong Time Watches. So thanks for letting us know what you guys are wearing. So the there's going to be a lot of things we're going to talk about or go through tonight. The reason why I wanted and I asked Ryan to come on because I love his channel. I love I mean he if you haven't subscribed yet, go out to YouTube. I have a link in the description. Uh, knife watch, and he does watch reviews, but he does a lot of knife reviews too. And he's got a great cadence. He's very articulate and very informative with his reviews, and I love, and he's got that soothing voice, and it's really nice to listen to. But so I'm a watch guy, right? And I'm getting surrounded by knife guys who are knife guys, watch guys, and it's getting to a point where now I'm hanging out at the barber shop and I'm getting a haircut now. I've been there long enough, right? As the saying goes. Um, and so now I'm starting to collect knives, but I'm seeing some similarities, well, from when I started collecting watches. And Ryan, I think when we had discussed the other day, you've been you started collecting watches. Why don't we go into that a little bit, and then we'll start talking about how you got into knives. So how did you get into watches, man?
Sure. So I've been wearing a watch ever since I can remember. My dad actually was a big digital Casio guy in the 90s. He put a couple of watches on my wrist, and there's a picture of me at 6 years old wearing a Nike sports watch, and some sort of fashion digital watch. But I remember always wanting to save up, what was it, $5 or $10 back then, to get a watch at the toy store or like your local, Sharper Image or something like that.
Right.
So I always had a watch on my wrist, but I never thought about it. And even in college, I wore this big clunky digital red watch. It was so flashy. I thought it would help me with the ladies. It never did. But again, I was always wearing a watch, but I just never thought about it. And it's sort of analogous to how you always have a pair of scissors in your house, or you have knives in your house, but you never think about them. Like, when's the last time you thought about the quality of the spoons that you use, with your soup? You just don't. They're just accessories, right? And
Right.
it wasn't until 3 years ago that I started taking really seriously, not only like, becoming a father and a husband, and really saying, I'm the man of the house now. I have to protect my family. I got to be more responsible. And having a watch that worked and was reliable and was also good for business, and then having a knife for emergency situations, or a multi-tool at least, that preparedness
Hmm.
really came into play. And then obviously I got onto YouTube and I lost my friggin' mind like the rest of us.
Right. Right. So you're going into YouTube, and so what guys gals channels are you gravitating to?
Sure. So 3 years ago, when I really did start getting into knives more seriously first, I had a G-Shock on. When I really loved a big clunky gray one, and I loved it, but it was really Nut and Fancy, who is a real OG of
Hmm.
the preparedness EDC. This is a guy you guys you probably follow Nut and Fancy and you don't even know it because he's been around for 10 years,
Right.
literally on YouTube. He is the ultimate nerd, collector's nerd, but also action hero. I mean, he's somebody who gets excited about a $10 Casio and also owns really expensive watches. He has custom knives. He actually has his own Spyderco. I mean that, like Spyderco made a Nut and Fancy
That's
knife,
wow.
and he actually dives with his dive watches, right? So a real the ultimate, the penultimate nerd for us, and and he's one of us, right? But he actually, you know, he does gun reviews, the whole gamut, and so I watched his channel and I realized that he was really talking about just becoming a happy man, you know, becoming a good father, becoming somebody who's ready for anything, being responsible, doing better at work, so you can afford more cool stuff. And that really resonated with me. And then obviously you fell into the Nick Shabazz, you know,
Hmm.
who doesn't love Nick Shabazz? I mean,
Yeah.
from you know, people always talk about my voice, but Nick Shabazz's voice, you know, nobody
Yeah.
knows if
It's the best.
nobody knows if he's voice acting or you know, but his character is just it's magnificent. It just
Yeah.
makes us all feel relaxed, but also he's so informative and keeps everything jovial and is very practical. Love, and I'm gonna give you some room to shout out some of these people too, right? We have the same fans.
Right.
We're the fans of the same people, but also I got to give a shout out to Metal Complex.
Yeah.
He's the hardest working guy in knife reviews, and anytime I want to review a knife, he's already reviewed it and like twice.
Right.
So I've learned so much from him, and he's a rather new channel too. So and the watches, you probably have more references for me than anybody, but obviously Slicey Dicey and there's many others.
Yeah, I mean, so getting back to Nick Shabazz, Nick Shabazz was one of the first guys that I found. I found him because I saw um, he had reviewed a Breitling or an Omega, something out of his collection. I'm not really 100% sure. And you know, this is when I first started getting into um, YouTube research, right, for watches. And then he started pumping out knife videos, but he always had been pumping out knife videos. I was confused. I didn't know what this knife thing was at the time, and so I kind of got a little turned off a little bit, and I unsubscribed from him. But then I shortly subscribed back to him again because you know that voice is like he just sounds like somebody. Like I grew up in North Jersey, right? I grew up like right outside of Manhattan, right? And so like that accent. I don't know where he lives. I don't think he lives in Jersey or wherever. I think he maybe live in Michigan. I don't know where he lives, but he sounds like somebody from like that was down the block from me. You know, so there was like some sort of like there was like a familiarity there, and so that's why I went back to him. Now you mentioned Metal Complex, and that guy is a hardworking dude, man. He like posts like videos, multiple videos a day. It feels
Yeah,
like, and and he's got a great personality too. So it's almost like the salesman is you know, um, the salesmanship is you know gets me hooked. And then Slicey Dicey, and he's kind of and very very funny as well. And there's other guys that I'm learning about as well. So you know that's where I'm at. You know I'm and so I'm I take the dive a few months ago and I get and Dirk Warning, Dirk who we know,
Dirk's the man.
he's also great too. He's actually one of the after Nick Shabazz, I think I sub Dirk, and through Dirk, that's how I found out about Slicey Dicey and Metal Complex. Um, but so I started picking up. Um, I bought my first knife. Like that wasn't a steak knife or a Swiss Army knife a couple months ago, and I was like, this is awesome. It was a bench. It was a Kershaw. It's a Kershaw a dividend, so it's like assisted. And that watch was just I mean that knife was awesome. And so then I started getting I'm like, you know, now I'm like I want more knives, man.
Yeah,
And so and so like I'm saying in the affordable range. Now when you first started, right? When you first started picking up knives, like where did you go? What was your pattern? Did you get hooked into a brand, or did you just like the affordable stuff like how I'm starting off with, or like how did it go?
you know that it started in the dumpster. And we all start from the bottom, just because we know that we're nuts now, right? But at the beginning, you have to make it sensible to yourself and to your loved ones. So I actually thought we might touch on this. I didn't know for sure. So I brought my first ever actual like knife in my journey. And it's this Buck 870 Bones, I think it's called. Look at this thing.
Wow.
This is this is okay. So Buck is a reputable brand
Yeah.
in knives, but this is like their gas station knife. They made it purely for idiots like me. It just looks so overly tactical, like a tactical cow. And
All right.
I just love it. But yeah, I remember I didn't. The embarrassing thing was I bought this at Dick's Sporting Goods, and I was so excited. I got home, and the first thing I did after I rip open the packages and I hide in my bedroom, I opened it up, and I couldn't figure out how to close it for like 30 minutes. I'm just like, I had to literally go on YouTube to find out and search, how do you close a knife?
Yeah.
So,
that happened to me too.
Yeah, that's probably what got us into the YouTube problem, right? So,
yeah. That happened with the Kershaw. I just couldn't do it, and then I saw I was looking at the manual, and the manual had, it was a generic manual for Kershaw knives, so I had like 4 different locking systems, and so like I had to pick one of them. I had to go through, and then like my wife was the one that ended up figuring out. I'm like, oh, it's because it was a liner lock, I've never seen a
yeah,
liner lock before. I've seen like the back locks, the spine locks, never seen compression lock before, right? Not like this, but my wife was the one that figured it out. It was crazy.
yeah. There's nothing scarier than not knowing how to close.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You're walking around like this criminal in your own house.
Yeah, the kids are running around. I'm like, no,
Yeah. And I have my second knife too, actually, which is actually I'm pretty impressed by. So of course, I'm an addict, so I went back to Dick's Sporting Goods. I didn't find anything I liked. So I went to Walmart and I found this guy. So this is a Crkt Fossil, and I was thinking like, this has got to be a legit knife. Look at this. I mean, I thought this was titanium. I didn't know.
right.
And I did the smart thing and I searched it on YouTube. Lo and behold, Nick Baz has a review of this, and it's a fairly positive review. This is a $23 knife.
Right.
And not to like cut corners, but this, I want to do a review of it someday because it's actually very similar to this Koenig Arius, which is about 10 times as expensive.
Wow.
To some people. So
yeah.
But you start slow and then you realize, this is actually, there's actually something here, right? So you learn like, okay, this is maybe too big, this is too small. And the reason you want to handle them, it's the same thing as watches. You want to know what it does, what it feels like, how it makes you feel. And is it too much? Is it too gaudy? Is it too dressy? And you're really, you think that you're collecting knives, but you're just learning more about yourself throughout the process.
So now, so let's talk about this process and your learning. What's the first thing that gets you hooked in? Is it the type of steel? Is it the handle? Is it the locking system? Like, did you have a thing?
Yes, at first I really did have a thing. My thing was large. It was just large and tactical.
Right. Yeah.
Because remember, this is through the lens of, I'm buying this for personal protection. I'm watching gun videos and home security. I'm becoming paranoid, right? I'm like, I need a knife at all times. And this is me watching that nut and fancy content. And so I actually, my first Spyderco was this Spyderco Military, which I thought was like a normal Spyderco, but it's absolutely gigantic. I mean, I can barely fit it in here, right?
Yeah.
So this is actually my first Spyderco. You're better off with a pair of 3 as your first Spyderco. And I thought that this was normal. It came in this tactical Digicam G10 at first, but anyway, the process was like, I went big and then I kind of got smaller from there to decide like what was palatable for me, because the first time that I actually carried a knife outside with me was actually with this Spyderco. I was so hooked on it that I just was like, what if I actually walk around with it? And that's when I realized, okay, maybe I shouldn't go to the park with my kids with an almost 4-inch blade.
It's awesome. All right, I gotta put this. Kevin S. I bought a machete at a flea market once, smaller than that spider. That's funny. Speaking of machetes, my so I'm half Puerto Rican, and I used to live in Puerto Rico for a couple years when I was younger, and my grandfather and grandmother lived with me. My grandfather, he was born like if he was still alive, he'd be over 100, right? He'd be like 110. But this is like in the 80s, and he lived in a farm. He had a farm, but then he came in, and we lived in like I guess more of a town or a city, and we had like a little bit of grass, and that's how he cut the grass. Like
Wow.
there was no lawnmower. There
Wow.
was just machete. He's barefoot out there with his machete that he's been using for like 100 years, and he knows that machete better than anything else that he's ever known, and just like cutting grass and like doing it fast, and it's just like amazing, amazing. So then when I go, one of the first things I ever look up in Blade HQ is like I know nothing about knives, but oh, do they have machetes? And I'm like,
Yeah, and honestly, because you were asking about process, right? And none of us will ever be the men that our fathers and grandfathers
right,
were,
right,
probably. But they didn't have these kind of tools, right? These tools that they really didn't need. They had whatever was around or whatever they could get. Um, and so, what do we do with this kind of this, I guess, abundance? You mentioned Blade HQ. That's actually the other rabbit hole you go down, right? Is I'm a marketing guy by profession, and I'm a consultant for tech companies. And so branding is really important to me. And I've quickly learned about all these amazing knife brands,
right,
and just like Spyderco's a knife brand, but also so is Blade HQ. They're a retailer and they sell them. So the YouTube presence of these brands really is what impressed me. And the Blade HQ banter, that
mm-hmm.
that show series just complete. I watched every single episode I could at every waking moment, sitting on the toilet for 45 minutes at a time. Like I've never done that before. Like, what's wrong with me? And I realized that's because I'm actually finally getting into a hobby that I really enjoy. That's
Yeah,
not work.
right. So Daniel hates tip-down pocket clips. How do you feel about your pocket clips?
Oh, this is not something that's practical. Okay, this is I don't carry this very often. This is a more of a sentimental value. This is my first like real knife,
Yeah,
quote unquote. But I yeah, don't do that. It's dangerous unless you know what you're doing. But for this knife specifically, the Spyderco Military, this is actually has a lot of history. After the Indela, this is actually one of the first knives that has really real military use and purpose. And this pocket clip is amazing. If you want to get this out of your pocket quickly, you have to do it like this, because as you pull it out, where your hand goes, because of the size of the knife, it goes right perfectly there. But if
right,
you were to have this flipped over, think about the length of time you have to go to get down there and then pull it out, and then it's a lot. So this is actually for like a tactical. Yeah, don't go with that. I'm much more I'm much more this speed right now, right? Yeah.
So is it danger also like I'm trying to wrap my head around tip down and tip up right now. It's been a long week. Is also the danger that it might open up when you're pulling it out? Is that ever an issue?
I think the real reason is, so most knives that come out, they're oriented for your right hand. The industry is very right-handed.
Yeah, tell me. I'm a
Uh,
lefty, so
yeah, I'm actually a lefty too, so fist pump right there.
yeah,
But we all have to become kind of ambidextrous for these,
yeah,
right? And the
yeah.
muscle memory gets there. I think the real reason is when this is in your right pocket. Um, two things. Number one, you want the knife to be really pressed against the seam of your pants, right? So it's not going to open up while it's sitting in your pants. That's a disaster.
Right.
And the other thing is, the where does the knife open up? It opens up from the bottom, right? So
Mm,
most of the pressure of where it's sitting, because you could be wearing a large pocket pant where like it's down here. So if you're carrying it tip up like this knife, if this is in my right pocket and I'm running or something, this could easily open up in my pocket,
hmm.
right? Whereas if this is sitting in that pocket instead, there's no way that this is going to open up.
Right.
sitting against.
Gotcha.
So yeah, the weak point of the knife opening is actually in the most secure spot possible in your pocket.
So now you're picking up knives and dicks. You're getting into the hobby a little bit more. You're finding out what you like, right? So you start off with big knives, then you get a little bit smaller. When do you make that jump to the 300, 400, $500 knife?
Man, to be, it's a terrible rabbit hole. But but just to keep it really quick, Spyderco is the problem. Okay, just like
Right.
Seiko and Spyderco they're the sisters of they're the analogies. They
Yeah.
are Seiko is the problem with the watch industry. Everything is fine when you get your first little cheap digital watch, but Seiko's like, I'm going to give you a mechanical watch that's that affordable, and we also offer a million of other options, and that's what Spyderco does with the knives.
Yeah.
So, first, what happens is you get a knife, and then somebody tells you like, well, you don't have a real knife unless you got a Spyderco Para 3 or Paramilitary 2, and
Right.
then you go on YouTube and you're like, what is a Paramilitary 2? And so I've got this, right? And somebody's telling me like, you need this, like you need that, like PM2. I think somebody's carrying one of these, right? The Tonto. You need a PM2. And so you get one, and then you feel like a real man, but you're like, wait, I just spent almost $150 on a knife. That's 10 times more than what I ever thought was normal. And that sort of like takes your virginity, right? And you lose all shame at that point. And honestly, what happened with me, what really broke my seal, after you get tons and tons of great Spyderco knives, it's just like watches, right? You've got your Seiko turtle, and you love your turtle. You want to wear your turtle all the time, but it's a $200 or $300 watch, and it's like your nicest watch in the collection. And then you buy another turtle, or you buy an SKX, and they're all the same price point. But all the time you're wondering, like, but what would it be like if I got that Marine Master? Like, what's the difference, right? So what happened to me is somebody actually gifted me this Chris Reeve. This was the problem, right? So I already was in the $200 or $300 range, and I was killing it. I was fine. I was happy. And then somebody gave me a Chris Reeve, man. And I looked at the price tag of this, and I said, oh boy, oh no, the action on this, the titanium, the smoothness, the glassy feel, the clink, it's over. I need more. I need to see what else is out there. I think Chris Reeve really ruins us. So yeah, Spyderco's the gateway drug.
Right.
And but once you get over that, I think it's the same for watches, right? You get over 400, and then 4,000 is normal.
Right. All right. Let's answer look at some questions on the chat. So Kevin is asking, what's the best EDC knife recommendation for a city guy?
Well, depends on your city, right? It depends on your legal requirements.
Right.
When I think about the city, honestly, I think that you want something that's going to be, you're on the go, but you might go to a networking event at the same time. You never know where you'll end up in the city. You could be in a place where you don't want to be too dangerous. I'm going to pull something out for that exact recommendation. I'm going to say the Spyderco Smock. So here's why I say that. We're talking about like what's better in your pocket. Like this is so slim, right? So compare it to a Paramilitary 2, it's about half the size in terms of like pocket presence. But in terms of actual length, you've got the same length. So you're not losing anything there. The other thing is in the city, you want something that's not going to be over 3 inches in most places. And this isn't, I believe, but make sure you check your local laws. I'm not giving anybody knife advice on legal jurisdictions. But to me, this is just, it's fidget friendly. It's quick, it's fun. And goes in and out of the pocket great once you get an aftermarket clip.
Lyndon, to your point, Bobby, if you want to experience high end, I have a Chris Reeve Umnumzum.
Nice.
Umnumzan. Yes, and yes, it's lefty. Lyndon, we've been in contact before. Let's talk about that on email.
You're never gonna go back. It's gonna ruin you.
Oh boy. Snuggle told me it took me about 4 to 5 years to get into expensive knives and watches. Daniel is what is the most have you spent on a knife so far? That's a good question.
Oh no, I don't want to answer this.
Okay.
Um,
You don't have to answer it. You don't have to
well,
answer
I gotta say, there's reasons why you spend money on different knives.
it. Sure.
The most the most expensive knife I have is not the most I've spent because you got deals, you got friends,
Hmm.
but it's got to be this Koenig Arius. So this is a new generation carbon fiber with the bronze hardware. I'm a sucker for bronze titanium. And this is just, if you watch Middle Complex, he calls this the pinnacle of precision in production knives. After this, it's just custom makers. It's just you need somebody to make a knife,
Wow.
blood, sweat, and tears just for you. It's perfect in every way. So I wanted to see what heaven was like, and this has actually helped me calm down my collecting because I've reached nirvana.
Nice.
But yeah, there's other things, right? Because there's those sprint runs. If there's a sprint run that you really want and
Yeah.
you have to have it, nothing will stop you. There's also this guy that is a pretty penny because of its nature, its rarity. This is actually a flash batch, so this is actually only going to be made one time by Spyderco. This is called the Bombshell, and the
Wow.
reason that this one was a little bit more is because this is actually there's only ever going to be 1,200 of these, 1,250, and this is actually number 2 out of the whole batch.
Wow.
So pretty low number, the lowest number I have for any other collectible I have. So
Was that
yeah,
a
there's
just a luck of the draw kind of deal, or did you
no.
actually request that?
I talked to a guy who had number 2, and he
Oh,
gave me a price, and I said no. Well, yes, okay.
and Daniel's wow, that's a killer gift. I think he's referring to that Christopher Reeve. Um,
Yeah, that
Snuggle,
is the best gift I've received from somebody that's not my wife, for sure.
Snuggle Time 500 is the most I like to spend. Okay.
That's fair.
Yep. Some nice knives. 6 killer, 120, 21, 21. And Daniel's saying, I guess Kevin says he's in New York City, and Daniel's answering the question some here. He says New York City has to be under 4 inches, so a maximum of 3.9.
Yeah, and I also want to say, because we can get really close to snobbery here, and the only thing worse than a watch snob is a knife snob. Like, give me a break. You're a
Right.
loser. Okay, we're all losers here. We're in agreement. The truth is that you can really love, enjoy, have the most fun ever staying under $200 and never going over that and enjoy knives for your whole life. There are so many amazing knives. I think that these knives are flex knives. These are like, I want to see what I can handle, what I can bear. But
Mhm.
I've traded and sold so many knives to get to those, and I haven't spent really my own money, just to acquire things to flex on people. The like some of the best knives you can buy are affordable. Like this is the CJRB. CJRB is an example of like, and Spyderco too, of like entry level, like less than $70 with the same action as any amazing knife. This is this Chavez that I brought out at first, right?
Yeah.
This actually, I would argue that these have the exact same action. Like the fidget factor on these is exactly the same. They're both just as drop shut. They both have the same size and length. They both do the exact same thing. They're both easy to sharpen. They're both just as stainless. They're both great in the pocket. So guys, this is not really about money at all. At the end of
Hmm.
the day, you get any one of these where, and you'll be happier than me if you just rock it for 1 year straight. And it's just about, the fun part is that hunt, that research to find the right one, and really getting to know yourself again.
Jeffrey saying I bought a heater, I guess that's how it's pronounced, so I could hear the massive click when opening. Just sounds cool.
Yeah. Oh,
So
yeah.
now you mentioned drop shut, and I've noticed, and now because I'm highly influential, that's very either a drop shut or a shake shut, kind of knife is what I like, and it's only because I've seen videos. these guys reviewing these knives and showing that, making a point to show that what's the big deal with a drop shut or a shake shut kind of a knife? Like,
It's
why is it so attractive? I mean, I think I know.
Yeah, I mean, there are reviewers that have talked about this. I think Nick Shabazz has a video like, "Do you really want a knife that's drop shut?"
Right,
And Metal Complex probably too. Um, and it's the same thing as bezel action. You know, like,
mm,
do you really need the bezel action to sound like it's not good unless it's like, I mean, is it important? Not really. It's not. I mean, it kind of gives you a sense of the fit and finish, right? So
mhm,
I don't think it's that important, and I don't think it's really something that matters. It's a personal preference. For example, like the other side of action and drop shut action, like being a good thing, is that could also mean that your knife isn't that secure. Okay, so if you don't have tools to like change your knife pivot or tighten it up, it could be because your knife is loose that you have a
right,
drop shut action, right? So for example, there on most paramilitary twos, there's side to side play. If you really jank with it, you can actually make this a little bit looser, and not seriously to the point where it's going to break the knife, but you can jig it up, right?
mm,
And really mess up. It's the same thing as like if I really busted on this, I can make this bezel action less secure, but I would really have to beat it up. So that could be side to side play, just making it loose, right? But the other side of it is if in premier knives and custom knives, they are intended to do that, but it's all about style. It's just about I want it to feel that way. I want it to be I want the sound. It's
yeah,
very aesthetic. I wouldn't say it's something that you need. Um, and there are great knives that I have, like the Strider. This is what I've been carrying mainly for the past week because I'm still breaking it in. And this thing is like the smallest big knife or the biggest small knife I've ever seen or held, but it's not drop shut at all, and I love it probably the most right now of all my knives. So it's not something that matters functionally.
gotcha. So I think I noticed that you pulled out was that a marathon that you had your
Yes.
watch?
Yes.
So bring the watches back in here.
Sure.
So um, do you spend any time focusing on knife watch combinations, or is it just willy nilly?
Don't ask me these questions. You're gonna make me seem like a nerd.
No, man. Well, I'm asking him because I'm a nerd. So I could see it happening. I could see myself doing the same thing. So tell me.
The honest answer is hell yeah, man. Why not? You know, you wear your clothes to match, right? But if there's a knife that I'm carrying for a week, so I got this Hinderer, right, and I got it with blue G10. But the same day that I got it, I got this golden turtle. And I said, it would be sweet if I had a watch that matched my golden turtle. So I bought some brass scales.
Nice.
So I have something that matches, and I have a gold flashlight. And I know
Yeah.
some people make fun of me, like, too gaudy, but with my complexion, gold looks better on me
Right.
most of the time than stainless steel, right? So it's absolutely true that there are definitely knife watch combinations is a real thing, and Nut and Fancy has done a video on it.
Yeah. Kevin saying I have a SOG credit card knife, which I like. May need to check out Spyderco Smock. I think I need to check out the Smock too. I mean, it seems like it's been. I don't know if it's just my imagination or YouTube algorithm, but I've been seeing a lot of videos on the Spyderco Smock lately.
Yeah,
There,
they just did a release. DLT Trading did an exclusive, and I don't take this bad boy out because I'm in love with it, and I don't want to mess it up. But I'm gonna mess it up at some point. So this is the M390 version, and here's what's really awesome about the Smock. And so the Smock, even though I have much more expensive knives, is still one of my favorites for a few reasons. Number one is that great size that I mentioned, but number two is this is the best flipper tab of any knife. That's what Nick Shabazz said. That's not my words.
right.
So this is you just got this little nub here, right? But the thing about flippers is like they're really cool, but you don't always want this little extremity in your
Yeah.
pocket, or like it just gets in the way sometimes. Like the pocket factor here, like if you're putting your phone in here, that's
Hmm.
it's weird, right? And you don't always want to you don't want to have to flip. But this
Right.
flipper tab is just part of the handle, and it's just like a push button, and it's so amazing. And then obviously it's a push. It's actually a compression lock. It's actually a backwards compression lock that you activate with a button. It's not necessarily a button.
Ah.
Yes, which is very interesting. So,
Right.
and the other thing about the Smock is now you've got 3 different steels. You can get the M390. This is an exclusive. You'll have to get that on eBay or aftermarket, something like that. This is just the S30V version with some RC Blade Works scales and some Blades We Love titanium hardware. And so you can really dress it up because people really love the Smock too. It's a great platform. And there's 20CV, M390 here, and this is an S30V version. So it's becoming more like the other PM2, where it's that perfect size and doesn't really offend anybody.
Awesome. So Dirk made it on. Hey, Dirk, how you doing? What's up, guys?
Dirk, you're an inspiration, man.
Yep. Um, Kevin S., you need a bronze brown color knife to match that Seiko cocktail time. There you go.
I know. I need a gold and bronze knife now. Don't drive me crazy here, but you're right.
Lyndon is saying I tend to focus on matching expensive with expensive or affordable with affordable. Okay, yeah, I could see that. Kevin S., oh crap, I just admitted I'm a nerd on a YouTube watch channel. What will folks think? uh, Danny Lowe's like, I like big flipper tabs. Double as a finger choil. Yep, there you go.
True.
Oh, and Lyndon's like, don't worry about me. I have a left-handed PM2 I could send you. That's awesome. And
There's
Dirk,
actually people who turned the left-handed PM2 into these kind of compression locks. They're called Ultimate PM2s. They're aftermarket. Blades We Love makes them, so that's pretty cool.
and Dirk says, and yes, I do match my watch with my knife and my socks. Dirk always trying to one up everybody, with his matching. I'm just kidding, Dirk. So now you were telling me the other day you have a pretty well, at least compared to your YouTube channel, you have a little bit bigger Instagram account. Are you posting pics on a daily? I mean, do you want to share your Instagram? You can here on the channel, of course. But
Yeah.
so since you're in marketing, how does that play? I mean, since you have that marketing kind of mind?
The odd thing is I don't apply any of my marketing tactics to my hobby. None.
Gotcha.
It's almost like I turn my brain off when I do this stuff because this is for me. This is not for money or for work.
Right.
This is for me to like really just smile at the end of the day after a hard day's work. And so yeah, my Instagram. I went through a couple of name changes. I had a really corny name at first. I think it was Gun Popular, like because I thought I was going to get into guns, and that was extremely short lived when I moved to California. But yeah, I think what happened was I just learned who I was, and I realized that I've always loved photography, so it was kind of natural. And what I realized is a lot of people that take EDC pictures is they want to show their knife and they want to show their watch, but the only way to take a picture of your watch is to sort of set it down. And then some people, like I'm left-handed, I wear my watch in my right hand, but with a DSLR camera that's made for your right hand. So how do you do that? So I'd have to put my watch on my left hand to take a picture of it, and that's fake because I don't wear my watch there. And so I just developed this kind of style where I just like put the stuff on my hand and I just get it popping like that. And I
love those pics.
You
do that. You put that on our Discord channel, a Discord server, and I just love I love when those come up. I'm like, man, that's like so to me. I found that so creative that I look forward to it when you post it. Now, getting back to watch and knives, is there, we have in the watch game, we call them Grails, right? Watches that may be slightly attainable or unattainable.
Yeah.
Or we save for a really long time, and we find that specific one. Um, A, do you have one for watch, and B, do you have one for night? Do you have night grills?
Yes. So I want it to be said, because I don't think enough people say it, that Grails doesn't mean expensive. Grails oftentimes are things that are just really hard to find.
Hmm.
And the hunt, if you're like me, the hunt, the eBay search,
Yeah.
the watch you seek search is part of it. And so I actually brought a couple of things that I think were my Grails, and still are, and they're not necessarily super expensive, but once I
Hmm.
got them, I was satisfied. So I spent about 9 months looking for
Right.
this
Yeah,
Laurier,
yeah.
the original Falcon one. I wanted the gold with the white face.
It's
I
a shame they
couldn't.
don't make them anymore, you
Yeah,
know?
exactly. They don't even make this style
Yeah.
anymore. In terms of like the case shape, and the
Hmm.
bezel is huge. It's got this like very quirky, huge. Look how thick this is. I
Yeah.
mean, um, and so Laurier is one of my favorite brands, but they're anonymous. I mean, excuse me, they're notorious for selling out. So
Yeah.
to find one of these took a long time. So this was a grail for me, right?
Hmm.
It looks great on me, and I love it. I got my wife one of the new ones that's smaller, the Falcon 2s in gold, um, as a gift. And then for knives, it's the same thing, right? So I brought something that was hard for me to find as well, which was I love these Saint Nick's red and black limited editions. So this is, again, this is not a $3,000 knife. This is a $200 knife, maybe at best, retail, but it's just hard to find. Just a PM2, regular PM2 with 4V steel. It's not the best steel in the world, but I love red, and so that's what I wanted. And so that's, to me, grails are something that, it's a personal preference. I think all grail means is you're actually cutting out the BS of what
Hmm.
other people think and what you want to impress or flex on other people with. Because oftentimes we don't even wear our grails. We never pull them out.
Right.
No one ever
Right.
sees them. So that's what really makes it a grail, is it's actually for me.
Daniel suggesting for you the Chris Reeve Menandi with I hope I'm saying that right, with wood scales and gold hardware would match that cocktail time.
Ooh, ooh. It's not my cocktail time, but now I want to buy it. Uh, from One Edge HI on Instagram. Yeah, and my Instagram is Knife Watch. Keep it simple.
Okay, okay.
But yeah, I gotta try that Chris Reeve.
So I just had a thought and it actually just disappeared in my head. Because
Well,
the boy woke me up at 5 o'clock in the morning.
no problem. And sometimes we stumble on things that become other people's grails. So this is like the joy. This is actually the joy of my collection, because I got this the day it came in the mail, the day that I found out I was having my first daughter. And this is my Baltic salmon dial,
Oh yeah, yeah. That's a beauty.
the worn and wound, and I put this on the collar reb.
Hmm.
And can I tell you, when I got this, I didn't spend very much on it, and then a week later, eBay, um, prices are shooting up, but I'm not even realizing this, right? So on Instagram, people are hitting me up, hey, I'll give you 1,000 for that. Wait, what? No, I'll give you 1,500. Somebody offered me 25K. Sorry, not no two sorry, 2,500. Excuse me. It's
Wow.
not made out of gold. Yeah,
Yeah.
2,500 for this, and I was just like, "Are you out of your mind?" And that's when I realized, this is actually a lot of other people's grails, and this is actually like my daughter's watch. I'm going to give to her someday.
Right.
So, it's odd how that happens too, and it doesn't matter what the price was. This is like a $500-600 watch, right?
Right.
But now it's worth $1 million to me in
Hmm.
sentimental value.
Is there a sentimental value that you have with some of your knives? I mean, other than like maybe the first knife you bought or a gift.
It's funny. That's the weird thing about me, is I've actually never sold a watch. I've gifted them. I give them away all the time as presents. I just gave one to my mom and my best friend when he got a job. Um, and the truth is that with knives, I'm pretty heartless. I'm not
Hmm.
emotionally tied to any of them, unless they're gifts. So
Right.
I have relationships with, I wish this was a Rolex AD, but my local knife dealer, sounds like a drug dealer,
Right.
here in the Bay, he actually has gifted me knives because of the customer relationship that we have.
Oh, wow.
And so those are things that I will never sell. Like if it's a gift, strict rule, never sell. But knives, yeah, I just flip them all day. I actually checked my eBay. I flipped 40 knives. I've actually sold 40 knives. I didn't no idea.
And so, when you so like with watches, some people use, and I've done this too. I've used it as like a form of like holding equity, right? You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Is that kind of the same mentality, whether you purposely mean to do it or not? Do you find yourself holding equity in your knives to get maybe? And I know we're not talking about price per se, but somehow it's still the elephant in the room sometimes. So, I mean, do you kind of do that step up after you sell a couple of knives, or not, or it's just basically just stay in one general mm, genre or price range
I
and
think
whatnot?
all of us have our eyes on the next thing, right?
Yeah,
That's why we have a serious addiction problem. But we also just love the research. There's always something new. These companies, they work so hard to impress us, and we're impressed,
right.
sometimes. And it's also a matter of sometimes you've been saving up for something, and when you do sell something you realize, hey, like I actually could pull this off and still pay my rent, so let's get it. But the other thing is that some of them, some of the knives and some of the watches, they do hold value that you don't expect. For one example, I've got this on eBay, shameless plug right now. I am selling my Protec Malibu, and I'll just show it since it's a
Yeah,
really cool knife. And when I first got this, it was actually a friend of mine on Instagram was like, "Hey, Protec came out with a button flipper." And I was like, "Man, I can't carry automatics. I live in California." He's like, "No, it's a manual. You're not going to get in trouble for having this." And I said, "Protec makes a manual button flipper that's not huge." And so this is the Malibu. And so when I got this, I think it was about 200 something, not much more over that. And I didn't really think about it, but when I got it, I was one of the first few people to buy it, and it was so I got the first production run, number 57, and I looked on eBay, and this thing was selling for 350, 400. And so yeah, holding value. Some of them really do surprise you because they can't make enough of them. So yeah, if I want to take my kids out on on a vacation, or I want to take my wife on a fancy date, I don't mind selling a knife and just doing something for my family. So it
yeah,
definitely is a way of investing, or at least a bank account that's not going to get taxed by the federal government.
right. Sure, absolutely. So speaking of going out with your kids and taking the wife out, what do you typically wear?
Oh man. So this gets into the stigma, right? Like what's okay to carry where, and what's weird. So when I go out with my wife, I actually do have a small collection of knives that I guess I would call them like my dress knives. There's dress knives just like there's dress watches.
Right.
Don't get it twisted. The Nandi that somebody recommended to me is a dress knife. So this is actually what I would carry when I'm going out with my wife. And this is not an expensive knife, but this is like
Civivi.
it's a
Yeah.
Civivi Chronic, and it's got a nice Damascus
Mm,
blade. And it's I think this was like 80, $90. And to me, like my wife knows I'm carrying a knife, but this is like super lightweight. It looks like a vape pen or something like that. So
right.
it's my like, dude, just relax and enjoy your time with your wife knife. And it doesn't make me want to pull it out and fidget with it, but it is great fidgeter when I'm waiting for her while she's in the dressing room or something. But it's just something that also, like, if you pull this out at work, no one's gonna freak out, and say like there's something wrong with you, like most of my other knives, because I do like bigger ones. But there's definitely just like watches. There's a knife and a place for everything.
Right. Right. So speaking of yeah, that knife right there has the Damascus steel. That's also something I find too, that a lot of videos are on these knives that showcase it as Damascus steel. And I thought it was fascinating. I actually picked up a Civivi I forget the name of it, but it's not what you have with Damascus steel. Um, and it seems, and man, I'm like, I could get some more of these, man. I really dig the way this looks. Is there is there any downside to that, or is that just a stylistic kind of just matter of taste? The Damascus style.
Well, for people who watch my channel, because there are some real knife heavy hitters in here, I am not a metallurgist. I am not a
Hmm.
steel guy. I am still learning about it. But what I will tell you about Damascus is like it really depends on the maker and where they get the Damascus from. Because just like you can buy a fake watch, there are people that make fake Damascus knives.
Mm,
So it's almost like an inside joke in the knife community that we all get hit up by these same dudes in Pakistan who make these Damascus knives that I think are just made out of lead or something terrible. And they look nice on, I guess if you're first getting in the hobby, they make these fixed blades. And if you buy one of them, it's not going to smell right. You probably couldn't cut a stick of butter with it.
mm,
And again, like they're not real, so, and also questionable practices about like who's really selling it. Where's the money really going? Am I paying for a terrorist organization?
right, right,
And that's not because it's from Pakistan, but because these people are scammers. These are
right.
people that are charging you $150 for a knife that literally costs them maybe $2 to make. Whereas with a Spyderco, some people complain about Spyderco price hikes and stuff like that. But what people don't understand is that Spyderco is a fairly well-run company and a family-owned company, and pricing strategy is extremely serious and complicated. And they're not charging any more for this than they want to. They want it to be affordable because that's what makes it attractive and makes it sell out. It's not making it more expensive that makes it more interesting. So Damascus, you can find a Damascus knife that's $10,000 by a custom maker, but it has to be reputable. So I guess
Gotcha.
it's the same thing as steel, any other steel.
Now, so you're not a metallurgy guy. You're mentioning steel. Is there is there a, but you still can have some preference of type of steel that you like to use
Oh yeah.
or to buy. So
Oh
so
yeah.
what are some of the for a new guy, who's looking at buying knives, who doesn't know anything, what kind of steel do I want to avoid? What kind of steel do I want to look at?
Okay, so if you want like the standard steel that's gonna rock the house and never give you any problems, you're looking at S30V or S35VN. S30V is like the base steel for most Spydercos, and
Hmm.
S35VN was actually created by Chris Reeve, and that's what you find in the Sabenza. This. So a Spyderco S30V knife. Spyderco makes knives that are, I think, like $90 to $100 that are S30V. And Benchmade makes $150 knives, or Griptilian, I guess, is about $110. That's S30V. But S30V and S35VN are very similar steels. They sound similar, but they're similar. But S35VN does have an edge that's going to hold up better. It's going to be easier to sharpen than S30V. It was literally made to be an improvement upon S30V, which was an industry standard. And so now people are spoiled and are bored of S35VN, if you can believe that. And this is it's a $400, $500 knife. So, but S35VN, you're good to go. Like, it doesn't matter where it's coming from, unless if it's a reputable company. We see it a lot from a lot of companies in China are making S35VN knives. That's a great steel to recommend. My personal favorite right now is M390 and S90V. Now, I don't need any of those, right? But something about S90V, it just makes me feel good inside. It's just an epic steel. And one of my favorite, I guess, one of my favorite knives right now is actually this Benchmade Mini Freak. This is also what I would call a dress knife. Carbon fiber and S90V. Carbon fiber to me is like the S90V equivalent in that it's such a fantastic material for knives, knife handles, and these are often paired together because they go so well together. It's really a luxury to have such a lightweight knife, and it's a luxury to have a steel that has such a strong edge retention and strong toughness. And but you're good to go with D2. For more affordable knives, you don't
Hmm.
really need something that's crazy. So that CJRB that I was mentioning, And CJRB, basically all of their base models are made out of D2. And you'll find these a lot in Chinese knives. But D2 was a very popular steel for tool knives in America for 100 years. That's what all of the slip joints are made out of, was D2 steel. So as long as it doesn't say surgical steel, or it says stainless steel with no other terminology, if it says that, run away. Like, it needs to have
Gotcha.
a name. And I would recommend researching and reading about every steel you're going to buy, so that you're not surprised when you get it. So you could have an incredible steel, but once it gets dull, because they all get dull eventually, nothing is perfect. Nothing is adamantium, right? Eventually, but then you might find it's really difficult to sharpen. You want to get a professional to sharpen it. Whereas that's the benefit and perfection of something like a Chris Reeve, where you've got a great steel. It's been the way it was made and ground and sharpened, and the way that the geometry of the knife is. And that's really what it's about. It's more about the geometry and the heat treat than the actual steel quality. That's really why the brand matters. And so, yeah, research is really important, and brand is important.
So research, brand, um, key things for any kind of like hobby, or any kind of like obsession that we have. These are the bedrocks to a lot of these things. Ryan, we're at an hour. I told you it was going to go fast. I told you, and I feel like we haven't even scratched the surface yet,
Yeah.
man. But I appreciate you coming on. We'll definitely do a part 2 if you're up for it down the road.
Yes.
Um, do you have anything else to plug? You have your channel Knife Watch. You have at Knife Watch on Instagram. Anything else you want to send out to the world before we leave?
Yeah, absolutely. So I do have a very good idea that I got from my friend Bobby Legs, that I will be doing my own live streams as well soon.
Awesome.
So I don't have to cramp your style to get some
No,
attention. But I would definitely want to say, anybody that's gonna follow me, like, follow Bobby Legs, and definitely check him out on Instagram as well. But yeah, my Instagram is popping, but it's mostly knives. I mean, the knife people really love my Instagram more than the watch people. But I'm going to be doing Knife Watch Wednesday. So I'm going to try
nice.
and do a live stream every single Wednesday evening. So if you guys have concepts or anything you want me to bring up, let me know. But we're going to have some fun. I also have some giveaways
Wow.
and a couple of other exciting things that I'm going to do, because I've got too much gear. So, I want to give away some things. I got some flashlights and some other kinds of reviews coming. So definitely want to say thank you so much, Bobby Legs, from the bottom of my heart. I feel gratitude
That's
for
right.
you, and peace and love to your family, and God bless everybody who was watching and having fun with us on a Friday night.
Well, I couldn't sum it up better than that, guys. Thank you. Have a great night, and tomorrow night, me and Ryan and maybe some other people, we're gonna do a live stream talking about the new Zin releases. So hope to see you guys there. Have a good night. Take care, guys.